The Boundary Blueprint: How to create limits your Presa respects without conflict. Guardian breeds like your Presa Canario thrive with clear structure and boundaries. But contrary to popular belief, they don't need harsh corrections or punishment to respect these limits. What they need instead is absolute clarity about where the boundaries are and what behavior is expected within those boundaries. Today, I'm going to share the boundary clarity system that has transformed hundreds of stubborn Presas into rule-respecting companions, often when increasingly firm corrections had failed to create lasting change. The system is built on a simple but powerful principle. The clearer the boundary, the less enforcement it requires. Most boundary issues stem not from a lack of consequences, but from a lack of clarity about where the lines actually are. The first element of effective boundary setting is visual demarcation. Wherever possible, make boundaries physically visible to your dog. Abstract concepts like stay out of the kitchen during meal prep are difficult for dogs to understand without clear visual markers. Implement boundary markers appropriate to the specific limit. Furniture boundaries can use distinct throws or cushions that are removed when access is permitted. Stay back zones in the kitchen can use mats to define the boundary line. Doorways can have threshold markers like rugs that indicate wait here. These visual cues eliminate the invisible boundaries that create genuine confusion for your Presa and often lead to what looks like deliberate testing or defiance. The second critical component is black and white rules. Guardian breeds thrive with absolute clarity, but struggle with ambiguity. A boundary that's enforced most of the time but occasionally ignored creates confusion, not respect. The rule of absolute consistency applies particularly to boundaries. They must be maintained 100% of the time by 100% of the people involved with your dog. A couch that's off limits except on weekends or when you're tired isn't a boundary. It's a confusing gray area. For each boundary in your home, make a clear decision. Is this an absolute rule or not? If you can't maintain it consistently, it shouldn't exist as a boundary at all. The third and perhaps most powerful element is proactive interruption. The most effective boundary management isn't correction after violation. It's interruption before crossing. Your Presa gives subtle signals 2 to 5 seconds before testing any boundary. Eye darting toward the boundary, weight shifts in preparation, attention focus changes. By identifying these pre-violation cues and intervening during this brief window, you prevent boundary crossing before it happens, eliminating the need for correction entirely. The practical application begins with the boundary mapping exercise. Create a floor plan of your home and mark every boundary your Presa is expected to respect. For each one, assess: is this boundary visually marked in a way my dog can understand? Is this rule maintained 100% consistently, or does it have exceptions? Do I typically respond after the boundary is crossed or before? Most owners discover their clear boundaries are actually invisible, inconsistent, or addressed only after violation. The perfect recipe for ongoing boundary issues. Next, implement boundary value building. Instead of focusing only on correcting violations, heavily reward boundary respect. Random, unpredictable reinforcement when your Presa is calmly respecting boundaries creates more motivation than corrections for violations ever could. This doesn't mean interrupting your dog constantly to reward them. It means occasionally acknowledging and reinforcing natural boundary respect. I notice you're calmly lying outside the kitchen while I cook. That's exactly right. Finally, develop the replacement route technique. For each boundary, create a clear alternative behavior that's incompatible with violation. For counter surfing, the replacement might be going to a designated mat. For doorway dashing, it might be a specific waiting position. These replacement behaviors give your Presa clarity about what they should do, not just what they shouldn't. Remember, setting boundaries without punishment isn't permissiveness. It's effective communication that creates a secure framework your Presa can understand and respect naturally, without the relationship damage that punishment often creates. Don't forget to grab my free guide using the link below, and sign up for our email list for exclusive inside info about your Presa Guardian.